Hello, and welcome to the Voices of Bellevue School District podcast, where we amplify the voices of students, staff, and families, sharing their unique lived experiences to strengthen our Bellevue community. In each episode, we'll explore We Belong, significant cultural traditions, customs, and lived experiences of our beloved Bellevue community. We learn academic programs and innovative initiatives, along with the staff and students behind them. We lead discussions with leaders in our community on topics that drive innovation in education. Hello, and welcome to the Voices of Bellevue. I'm Janine Thorne, Chief of Communication, and I'm joined today by Dr. William Jackson, Director of Teaching and Learning. Our last episode, when we met with the teachers, the mighty teachers at Tillicum Middle School, we talked about problem-based learning, and in that episode, we had some great conversation. Would you say the same?
Absolutely. In the episode, we went into detail about this learning experience and how it came about, and what strategies were being introduced for student exploration and design. Specifically, would Ms. Clay or Ms. Weaver like to share any details about how that learning experience went?
Yeah, so far, Ms. Romero's class has done way more than my class. They built a whole model of an area of a light rail station, and they actually received some feedback from someone from Sound Transit, which was very, very cool. He came and took a look at their project. And then in my class, they had been working with TVW's program called Capital Classroom, and they've been tracking different legislation, following it through the process, and they've actually had the opportunity to write letters of advocacy to their legislators, and the kids will talk a little bit about the work that they've done, including helping to pass a couple of bills through committee, as well as helping to kill a couple of bills that they are very excited about killing. So far it's going really great. And then soon we will be introducing in the next component in my class, which will be designing their own proposal that they will present that could maybe potentially one day be a bill that would have to do with the inner workings of and answering the question of how do we continue to grow as a society without destroying the ecosystem in our region. So that'll be the goal of their presentation and their proposals.
That's awesome. That's a lot to unpack, and I'm excited to get to it. But first, we have to introduce our esteemed panel, many eighth graders from Tillicum Middle School. So I'm going to start with Julia. Introduce yourself and tell us your name and what you love most about Tillicum.
I'm Julia, and I love the sense of belonging at Tillicum and how everyone just feels like a big family, and how everyone just feels so involved with everything. It's like no one's getting left out. And yeah.
Hi, I'm James. I'm an 8th grade student. My favorite thing about Tillicum is just that I feel like wherever we go or whatever we do, we have a safety net if we fall, and I think that's really nice to know.
Hi, I'm Fiona, a student at Tillicum Middle School, and one thing I really like is the social studies classroom and my teacher, Miss Weaver, who's just so happens to be her birthday today.
Oh! We'll have to sing at the end.
My name is Benton, and I'd have to say my favorite part about Tillicum Middle School is the amount of choice you have for, say, classes or electives.
Hello, I'm Aaron. My most favorite thing about Tillicum Middle School is the choices, as Ben said, and the sense of belonging.
Hi, I'm Michael. My favorite thing about Tillicum Middle School is how diverse it is. There's people from all around the world here.
My name is Martha, and my favorite thing about Tillicum Middle School is the support and opportunities we receive.
All right, so thank you for introducing yourselves. And when we spoke with the educators, we were extremely excited about all of the possibilities. From my understanding, you met with elected officials, engaged in politics, learned about wildlife in our region, met transportation leaders in our region. That's pretty amazing. Would any of you like to share a highlight of your learning experience from this past month? Fiona.
I really liked that my class was able to help encourage and kill some bills that we didn't agree with or agreed with.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the bill that you killed, that you're smiling about, and if you can hear the audience, the chuckles?
Yes.
The bill that we killed was the cell phone bill for having them not allowed in schools. So our class was very excited when we found out we were able to kill that bill successfully, because it was just something that our class didn't really agree with or enjoy having.
All right, that's super cool from the perspective of students. From the perspective of educators, I have lots of questions, but I won't go into that. But for the students, that's amazing. Can you tell us how you're inspired to even step into a legislative process to kill a bill? Any student from your experience in that type of class or environment. That's pretty amazing. All right, Julia's going to step in and share her experience.
I mean, like, it's not just like killing the bills that's like exciting, but also like supporting the bills that you like really agree with, and like working on like something that you believe in.
Really quick, while you're on the mic, what's something that you're working on that you're pretty excited about in your classes?
I'm working on the salmon recovery bill, so increasing like projects to like help salmon and like support the stuff that we already have going to like protect salmon and like their species and everything and their environment.
And I remember when we talked before, the salmon was pretty much the problem of practice, right? That's what started the inquiry that went down into the legislative component and the design component. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the project started out, as we discussed on the last podcast, we learned about this problem with the beaver. And so this area has a lot of beaver, and they are a keystone species. And the beaver are very, very important to the salmon, which is why we're following the salmon bill, because this year there hasn't been a beaver bill. So, and now we're late enough in session that it's too late. So we're going to be following the salmon bill very closely to see how it impacts the region. And that's really our focus, is how can we continue to protect our ecosystem here? So Julia took quite the interest in the salmon bill and has been following it. And so far, it's still alive. And a couple of students wrote letters of advocacy, really encouraging lawmakers to help pass that through the process, because they have to hit those marks on the cutoff calendar. And if they don't, they die. And so it's been really cool to watch students get really interested in this salmon bill.
Thank you. And I'll step in and ask, Benton, what's been your favorite part of this project? And it could be in your social studies class, it could be in your CTE class, it could be in any of the classes, science as well.
Personally, I'd say my favorite part, and this is for the design and production, I'd say my favorite part of it was actually being a part of it. Like doing something, not just learning about it, but interacting with not only the people that do these things, but like making something, designing and producing.
Awesome. Would you like to step in, Julia? And then anyone could step in and answer that part, because I want to go further with that, but step in, go for it.
I mean, adding on to that, because I was in the design and production class too, it feels so real to be like involved with all the people that are actually making the change, and then you can say all your ideas and like show them like what you want for the future, because you like are the future. And just creating what you feel like could be good and beneficial, and then like passing that on to the people who can like make that change.
It was also amazing to actually go on the field trip and see different light rail stations around our area and design our own light rail station based off of that criteria.
That's really cool, because the light rail was originally what landed us into this as well, and going deeper and not just studying about the light rail, but going to the light rail. Super cool. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else that's coming up? Yeah. Ion is how you say?
For me, Catholic Classroom was an eye-opening experience. I learned how bills were passed, how the legislature worked, and it was fun.
I think one of my favorite parts of Capital Classroom was that we got to explore different bills and not only that, but look deeper than just the surface level. So not just like the fact that the bill is going to do this or that, but who it would impact, how it would impact them, like looking at like the fiscal notes and the like what committee it goes to, and then you can really take a look at like how the bills will be affecting people, and you can form a better and more educated opinion on it.
Hey BSD, we'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, my name is Soraya Arjuman. I am a junior at Bellevue High School, and one of the great ways to get involved with sustainability in the school district is to enter our BSD Earth Month Student Art Contest, which is going on right now and will end in a couple weeks, I believe. So this is an art contest that is open to all students in the district K through 12, and we want you to submit an art piece about sustainability. The theme is Our Planet, Our Power, so submit that for Earth Month. For more information, visit at BSD Sustainability on Instagram.
Would any of you say that this experience may guide you towards a career in the legislation process?
Yeah, I would say that Capital Classroom was like a really big experience for me because it got me like more interested in stuff about the government and the legislative process, and it's what encouraged me to like apply to a program, the PAGE program, which is working in the Capitol for a week.
Thank you. So to dig even further and go for it after I asked this learning experience pushed you to go deeper into your passion, which also puts you into a further that you're going to have a week-long program that you're a part of that's outside of school. That's really amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, Martha took a special interest in this, and I noticed that she was taking just so many notes during our first meeting with our lobbyist. And so I pulled her aside and asked if this was something she was interested in and guided her to the legislative page where they talk about the PAGE program. So they bring teenagers in. They get to spend a week at the Capitol. And all of you, if you're interested in this, come talk to me, you guys. But Martha had to apply and get recommendations. And so our principal, Mr. Steer, and I recommended her for the program. And she gets to go spend a whole week down in the assistant majority whip's office helping make change. And she gets to see the process from the inside, which is so cool.
Martha, had you always been interested in politics, or what sparked this for you?
I don't really think I was ever interested in politics until like I really got inside like sight in it from Capital Classroom.
So this project and the problem-based learning really guided you to something that you might consider for a future career or just studying more about. How about others? I know we're talking about the legislative component of it, but what about the other aspects of the program interest you?
Well, being in the design and production class, it like really showed me like how there's more than just like designing like a train to a train station. It's like there's so many more like components that go into it, like designing the art and making like ADA like accessibility stuff, and like making something that's not just what you typically think of when you think of a train station, or there's so much more that like goes into it.
So using that as an example, how would you compare your experience this way as opposed to if you were just doing it the opposite way, like the regular way, where you're learning it, you're reading the material in the book, and you're just taking the test and everything? I see Benton has his hand.
I feel like this really helps like cement the ideas, because if you're just reading about it, your brain or your consciousness can just choose to ignore things because you aren't really participating in what's happening. But with our design and production and everything we did, we really did participate. We all worked together, and it just showed how every infrastructure, every building, isn't just one person being, I think this is a good idea, I'm going to build it. But it's many different jobs coming together to make one amazing thing that will help people do whatever it's designed to do.
I feel like like with the Capital Classroom and the design and production class, I wouldn't have gotten in, like, as interested in either if it was just like, oh, we learned this, okay, we're done. But like actually being involved in it and like making the change that like you want to see and stuff.
So, what was it like to work in teams with so many different personalities and ideas and opinions? What are your thoughts? How did that work?
It was amazing. Like, everybody had their own part, but everybody had to work as a group to contribute to that part. So, for example, when you were building a light rail station, if you were on floors, you'd have to talk to the people that are making the walls or like making the windows, so you can make your measurements based off of their measurements. And it was like one big group working together with different parts, all contributing at the end.
Hold on to that, because that's what it's like when you work all day and not in school. So you're learning some of the beginning steps for what it's like when you're working in teams with people in your career.
This is super cool because at no point in this conversation have I heard about, and this is how we were graded. I'm just hearing inspiration of engagement and learning. And this is an ideal learning experience. So what recommendation would you give to any teacher that's trying to create this type of learning experience that your teachers have created?
Fiona?
My recommendation would be not to overwhelm them with this information, to take your time explaining how each process works, because this is a very complicated process about how bills are made, killed, and moved on in the process. I'd also say that maybe have them like go look at like websites and past videos and like the actual bill videos, because when I got to look at them, I was like really like engaged with it, and I found it was very fun to watch them as they battled about whether to keep this bill or not.
Thank you. Go for it, James.
I think that if I had any advice to give, it would be to keep it as hands-on as possible, but also keep structure. Because if Ms. Weaver just said, okay, we're going to talk about the legislative process for 3 months and go look at the website and figure out and form opinions on bills, I don't think we would have gotten any education on it. I think that while keeping it hands-on, we also need a little bit of structure to guide us in the right direction. And I think that would be really important, and that would be the advice that I would give.
Thank you. Michael?
For the light rail station, I would say we would probably need more time like building, because in our class we went to the field trip and then we spent a lot of time designing. But an issue was like we only had the last 2-3 days to build because we were rushing stuff since the semester was coming to the end. So maybe for another teacher who's doing it, spend like 2-3 months maybe on this project, because it is a very long project.
Go ahead, Fiona.
I wanted to add something to this, probably to plan it while it's happening, because I found it was very fun as we followed and we guessed what bills, and we got to actually help encourage or discourage what bills went through and which bills didn't go through, as we wrote to sponsors and the people in charge of the representatives. And I found that was a lot more like encouraging and way more interactive to participate in than if we didn't.
That's amazing. And if you would have seen me when I came in today, I was a little bit down a little bit. But then through this conversation, I've just been inspired. So one thing, inspire us, please, as we close out this conversation. What's one thing that you're looking forward to as you finish out your middle school experience? Go for it, James.
I think that one thing I'm looking forward to is in Ms. Weaver's class actually finishing out this project. And I'm really excited for when we do our proposals and when we get to actually make a possible thing that'll turn into change in a real bill. And I just think that'll be really cool, and it'll be a good way to like sum up everything that we've done so far. And it'll feel like all of that work and everything is like coming together and we can make real change and that it's possible.
I want to add to what James said is that I want to see what bills actually get to become bills and which bills are just gonna not become bills, but still will probably get a chance to become bills later become laws later. And I think that'd be very fun to see which ones actually get to become bills and laws.
For the light rail station, I'm looking forward to see what will happen with our project, like where it will be put in Tillicum Middle School, and if it will actually become a light rail station sometime in the future.
Yeah, and as their teacher, I really wanted to empower them. I wanted them to feel like even though they can't vote, even though they don't pay taxes, even though they're not adults yet, that they are empowered to be able to make change in this world and be able to create the world that they want to live in as adults. And for nothing else, if they just get that out of this experience, it'll all be worth it, you know?
Thank you.
Well, I think the future is bright for each of you, for all of you. So thank you for participating in the podcast. Thank you, teachers, for your participation also. Signing out.